Okay, I'm going to make you a short video on the whole, what do you call this, cable rail. So here we go. Bunch of different parts bringing into the scene. And the cables, of course, I don't have any other fittings, so this is the 3/16 which you're going to be using for bobs. You can see the fittings already pressed on it. This is the 1/8 that I have to work with. Here's how to use the cutter. If you haven't used it yet, you open it up, set it down on something solid, down, and then a quick snap. 3/16 is a little harder to do, but it's actually pretty simple. So to mark them, what you're going to do is you're going to measure. You're going to measure inside to inside of what you have to cut, and then add 3/4 of an inch. So we'll say that my inside to inside measurement from post to post is 10 inches. I would go 10 3/4 and put a mark with a magic marker, 10 3/4, and then cut it. Line it up right in the jaws, cut. Then you put the piece, before you put it in, I had it somewhere, the Tef gel. What do I do with it? Oh, there it is right in front of me. So you take the Tef gel, you put a dab of Tef gel on the end of the wire, and you kind of spin it inside the fitting. So it goes all over the wire. So you put that in the fitting, and it goes in usually pretty easy. Now you can mark these if you want. I always just go by eye. So the wire is only about that deep into there. I think it's 7/8 of an inch. So you can make a mark on there. Makes it good if you have somebody that's not familiar with what you're doing. And for the 1/8 inch, we use the smaller one. For the 3/16, which you're going to be doing, you use the bigger slot. Make sure this top slot is lined up with the bottom one, and you slide it in there to that mark. I hope you can see it. I didn't put the mark on there, but it goes in about 7/8 of an inch, about maybe 2/3 of the way into the block is about right. And then when you press the button on the hydraulic, of course the hydraulic goes into here the same way it goes into the top of the bender, and you just tighten that up. So you press the button and you go until you hear the pump change sound. It'll be pumping, but don't let it get too much pressure. As soon as it starts to change sound is when you stop. This will raise up. Sometimes you have to help it, and then you spin it 1/4 of a turn and you press it again, so that you end up with press marks like you can see on this one. They'll be perpendicular to each other, and then that's it. So that presses that. One other thing, I'm going to take you out there. So that should cover that. Then we're going to go outside here because we have a little adjustment to make on these rails that we've already got drilled out. So the side that the fitting goes into, this side here needs to fit this plastic. So we have to drill them out just a little bit bigger so that fits in there snugly. Hopefully it fits in there and stays in there. We have, this side is correct. It's just this side here needs to be drilled out on all of these. Then I'm going to go back in and show you the process of running the wires in. I think you'll understand that. I don't have all the plastic parts set out here for me. But, so, of course, here you can see this. So this is the 3/16 fitting. Here's that plastic piece I just showed you. It goes in and it just fits over there to isolate the metals. Okay, so we have that one and that one. And then over here are all these parts. So that goes onto that side. And these guys here fit into the wire. So you'll have one of these. So what you do is you put the one fitting on. First you cut all your things to length. Actually do one at a time, or just do the first one first. Make sure it fits before you go and cut them all. I've done that before, and then you end up having a mistake and you wasted all that wire. So press one side and then put it into the post. Put a nut on there to hold it just so it helps you lay out the rest. So then you put that piece on and it can just lay there. You don't have to push these into the metal until you're all done. Then start feeding it through with one of these guys in between each post. You have one facing one way, and of course, well, one facing one way going into the post, one facing the other way going into the next post. And so that is how to do all that. You lay them all out, and then you get down here, you're going to have a bare wire. Then you'll be at your last post. That's when you have to press those on site, because this thing here, of course, won't fit through your smaller holes on your intermediate pieces. Okay. Then I think you're familiar with this. Let me set this back up. I'm not too good at videoing. So anyway, so then this is going through at the angle. Then you put this guy on, and he goes on at that angle, like that, so that you can put the nut that has this funny washer thing on, and then you spin those on. What I do is, what I've been doing is using the socket. It goes a lot quicker. Snug it up on the one side, and when you do that, make these all even on. I would do probably the upper portion, that where all the corners meet together, and make them all, you know, stick out of the post about that much. Have that much sticking out of the post, just so they're all even. Snug the nuts down to that point. Don't even tighten them, just snug them down so that you have the same reveal on all of them. Then you go down to the other side, the lower side, which you're going to put in. Use the same type of fittings. Then this side here, you will snug way down and then start to tighten them. You could use the socket, or we have this ratchet box to tighten your nuts on. Then after you get those on, you cut them off with a cutoff saw, flush with this nut. cut them off right flush with the nut, with the cutoff wheel. And then you take some of the Tough Gel, wipe it all over that, and then pop these caps on. And they just pop right on. Okay, I think I covered all of this stuff. There was one other thing. What was it? The sockets. Oh, so when you go to tighten them, you start on the middle one, then you go up one, down to the next one, up two, down two, up to the top, down to the bottom, and then the middles, back and forth, and then you start snugging them up, and as you do, they're gonna kind of fight you. You try not to get them, you want them tight, but sometimes you gotta loosen, because you get them so tight, you loosen the tightest one, and it'll tighten up the one that's not as tight behind it. It's just a matter of playing with them back and forth. Just don't keep cranking them trying to get them all tight, because it's just going to keep pulling and they'll keep getting uneven. And you want them so that when you're done, you've got a nice tight, so that they flex just a little teeny bit. And so that's your lesson. Hope it helped. I don't know. I'm not too good at this video stuff, but there we go. It's all you. When you take the hydraulic, you just undo the top part of the hydraulic thing, undo the return line of the hydraulic pump, and I just kind of wrap that up and either bungee it or whatever so that it doesn't get in your way. Then we just take this, make sure you put this on a blanket so that any hydraulic fluid that does leak, take some rags and put them underneath so that when you undo it or put it in, any hydraulic fluid doesn't get on his deck. That's why I always put a blanket down underneath me. I hope I covered everything. I've got to get more of these ordered. I have a bunch more of this other stuff ordered. I hope I got the right parts. I know I've got all these. I may have to order more of these for you. I'm going to look when I get home and see what I ordered, and you should be good. So I'm going to put this over where the bender is, so you know where it is. That's it.